Yesterday we have discussed Unit 1 and Unit 2. This is completely regarding frequency control, and this is completely regarding voltage control. So frequency control, it is major concerned with real power, and voltage control, it is concerned with the reactive power. Now, let us see economic load dispatch. Economic load dispatch. How each generator has to dispatch economically according to the load requirement. That will be discussed here. Now, statement of economic dispatch problem. So, what is the economic dispatch problem? Let us say there is a certain load connected to the bus bar like this. So it is a load, and to this load, suppose two generators are connected, generator 1 and generator 2. These two are connected. In order to meet the requirement of the load, it has to generate a certain power, that is a P1 and P2. Let us suppose generations from 1 and 2 power plants, so that P1 plus P2 must be equal to the load requirement. Now, what is the cost of generating this P1 from the power plant 1? So let us consider it as a C1. And what is the cost of generating P2? So let us consider it as a C2. Now the total cost of generating P1 and P2 are the C1 plus C2. C1 plus C2. So it is the total cost of generating power P1 and P2. It is. Now the economic dispatch problem is to minimize this cost. To minimize this cost under the constraint. Here you have to follow the constraint that the generation should be equal to the load demand. Under that constraint, you have to minimize the total cost. So this economic dispatch problem states that to minimize the fuel cost of generating P1 and P2 under the constraint of generation equal to the load demand. So by considering this objective function, this is called as a objective function. And we have the constraint is nothing but the total generation should be equal to the load demand. So this is the constraint and this is the objective function. By correlating these two functions, we will derive one condition. If you follow that condition, then whatever the powers will be there, P1 and P2, these are the economic load dispatch. So that will be discussed in this statement of economic dispatch problem. So simply we can say that economic dispatch problem is to minimize the total fuel cost of generation from various power plants under the constraint of total generation equal to the load demand. So if we consider the losses, total generation equal to the load demand and losses, and these two combine together to get one condition. If you follow that condition, then we will get the P1 and P2. So that we will see here. Now what is the cost of generation? The cost of generation is, let us suppose 10 megawatt is generated from this power plant, and what is the cost? C1. And if P1 is increased, so initially let us suppose 10 megawatt is generating, then the cost will be C1 in the first case. If the 20 megawatt is generating, then the fuel cost will be increased. So here the cost C1 and C2 is nothing but it is a fuel cost. How much fuel we incurred in order to generate the 10 megawatt, and how much fuel incurred to generate the 20 megawatt. So it is the cost of the fuel for generating 10 megawatt and cost of the fuel for generating the 20 megawatt. So this is the cost of generation, but this cost will be depends upon the characteristic of a particular unit. So we will derive the one function. So C equal to A P square plus B P plus C. This is the quadratic function. If we consider this function, this is a for particular power plant. If the power plant is changes, then automatically it will be changes. So it is a so it is the function cost of generation. Now incremental cost curve. So if it is a C is the cost function, if in order to get the incremental cost, then it has to be differentiate with respect to the variable. So here variable it is a power P, so real power generation. So if you differentiate the cost function with respect to the P, then you will get the incremental cost. Based upon this, we will draw a curve. It is called as a incremental cost curve. And one more is coordination equations without loss and with loss. These coordination equations are nothing but it is a what we have here. We have the objective function and constraint. These two are correlated in order to get the one condition. That condition is the coordination equation. So this will be looks like this. So dci by dpgi, dci by dpgi. It will be looks like this, and that is equal to the lambda. That is equal to the lambda. So incremental cost. So it is a dci by dp. So c is the cost function of ith unit. So where I is 1, 2, 3 and so on n, the number of the units, dci by dpgi. So pgi it is a real power generation, that is equal to the lambda. So it is a Lagrangian multiplier. So dci by dpg must be equal to the constant. So if we consider the I equal to 1 and 2 only, so then it will become dc1 by dpg1 equal to dc2 by dpg2 equal to lambda. This is the one condition. So by based upon this condition, we will calculate what is the Pg1 and Pg2, and one more expression is there in order to meet the load requirement. So total generation Pg1 and Pg2 must be equal to the load. So if it is a 10 megawatt, so this is the load. Pg1 plus Pg2 equal to 10 megawatt, and dc1 by dpg1 equal to dc2 by dpg2. So this is the another one. So from this you will get the one equation, and this is the another equation. By solving these two, you will get what are the pg1 and pg2. These are the economical load dispatch from the two units. Like that it will be added. So if there are the one more is added, then we will get the three equations. By solving these three equations, you will get Pg1, Pg2 and Pg3. So these are the economical load dispatch. If you substitute Pg1 and Pg2 in the cost function, whatever the cost you will get, so those cost will be minimum. So that's why it is called as a economic load dispatch. It is a coordination equation without loss. If we consider the with loss, with loss means we have to take the network losses also. In this coordination equation will be modified as a Li multiplied by dci by dpgi equal to lambda. So it will be simply modified. Just one more term is added, Li. This Li is called as a penalty factor of the ith unit. So if you consider the first unit L1, so Li is the penalty factor, and multiplied by dci by dpgi equal to lambda. So this is the coordination equation with losses, where this penalty factor it is given by 1 by 1 minus dou PL. So it is a loss dou PL by dou PGI. So this L penalty factor will include the changes in the losses with respect to the real power generation. Here it is included, loss also included. So we will derive all these in detail later. So simply I am giving the overview of every topic. coordination equation with the losses. Now solution by direct method. So here Pg1 and Pg2. This Pg1 and Pg2 can be calculated in various ways. So one of the method is the direct method and another one is the lambda iteration method. Solution of economic dispatch problem. So what is the economic dispatch problem? How much each unit has to be generated economically? That is the economic dispatch problem. Now what is the solution? To find out the Pg1 and Pg2. So those are the solutions. So how we can get these solutions? By direct method and lambda iteration methods. So by using these two, you can get it. So this is the overall view of the economic load dispatch. Now let us see. So unit 4, it is completely regarding the unit commitment, UC. So earlier it is a ED, economic dispatch. It is a unit commitment. The statement of unit commitment problem. So what is the commitment? The commitment, it is nothing but the turn on of the particular equipment. So that is a unit. Unit commitment is a turn on the unit. The commitment, so what is meant by turning on? You have to bring the unit to the required speed. So unit commitment, the statement of unit commitment problem, it is nothing but commitment is the turn on the particular unit. What is meant by turning on? So you have to bring the unit to the required speed, and you have to synchronize it, and you have to connect it to the network so that it will deliver the power to the network. So that is called as a unit commitment. So if you don't want to do that, then you can decommit also. What is meant by decommitment? So it is a turning off. So the statement of unit commitment problem is that if there are the more number of n number of units are available, so it is not necessary or not economical to run all the units. What are the units has to be turn on and what are the units has to be turn off. So that is the unit commitment problem. How many units has to be turn on, or what are the units has to be turn on and what are the units has to be turn off. That is nothing but a unit commitment problem. And the solution is definitely it will give the directly what are the units has to be turned on. That is the solution. The solution techniques are also there. Simply the statement of unit commitment problem is to turn on the units among available units economically. So that is the unit commitment problem. Now what are the constraints here? So constraints in order to commit a particular unit. Here the first one is the spinning reserve. The spinning reserve constraint, and that has to be met. So we have, while we are going for the unit commitment, so you have to consider these constraints. The one of the major constraint is the spinning reserve. So here the spinning reserve is nothing but total generation minus PL minus P loss. We have to subtract the total load and losses from the total generation. Whatever the margin available, it is called as a spinning reserve. So let us consider the total load is the 10 megawatt and loss is the 1 megawatt, and total it is a 11 megawatt we needed. We are generating 15 megawatt. So it is a total generation and it is a losses and all this. Now 15 minus 11 you will get, it is a 4 megawatt. So this 4 megawatt is the spinning reserve. This 4 megawatt is the spinning reserve. So this spinning reserve has to be maintained in every power plant. Spinning reserve has to be maintained, because if any unit is unfortunately turned off, then that particular load will be shared by the other units. It is a spinning reserve. The spinning reserve can be obtained by subtracting load and losses from the generation PG, So here the PG minus PL load minus loss. So that will give the spinning reserve. The spinning reserve has to be maintained by every power plant. If any unit got some problem, then it will be out of the service. Then that particular load has to be shared by the remaining available units, so that the frequency will not drop. So here also major concern is the frequency. So if the generation and load mismatch occurs, then automatically frequency will drop. So that's why in order to avoid that, in order to maintain the proper frequency, so generation should be equal to the load and all this. So that's why we have to maintain the spinning reserve, and this spinning reserve will be supplied when particular unit will be turn off because of the some problem. So, for example, if you consider the load is the 10 megawatt and 1 megawatt loss is there, and total requirement is 11 megawatt, and if we are generating 15 megawatt, the spinning reserve will be 15 minus 11, so it is a 4 megawatt spinning reserve. Extra we have 4 megawatt. So if any unit is turned off and got some problem, or if you want maintenance purpose, then that will be shared from this spinning reserve. That's why it is the most important. Spinning reserve constraint has to be maintained. And while you have committing a particular unit, it should not be exactly equal to the load. It should be more than the requirement of the load. Like that you have to commit the units. So that you can maintain the spinning reserve. So that is the one aspect. And another one is the thermal unit constraints. It is regarding the unit. So thermal unit constraint is so here we have the minimum uptime and minimum downtime for the unit. Minimum uptime and minimum downtime. Here minimum uptime is nothing but if it is turned on, then it should not be turned off immediately. So if it is turned on, it should not be turned off immediately. It has to operate for certain time. So it should not be turned off, because if you want to turn on a particular unit, you have to burn so much of the fuel, and steam is generating, and turbine is rotating, and generator is also rotating and giving the supply. If you after doing all this, so if you turn off immediately, then it will be wasted. All the fuel what you have incurred or expensive, then automatically it will be loss. So that's why there should be the minimum time, and there should be the minimum downtime. If it is turned off, and there should be the minimum time to turn on again, or to recommit again, there should be the minimum time. So minimum uptime, and once on చేసిన తర్వాత దాన్ని కొంతకాలం రన్ చేయాలి. So you should not turn off immediately. So if it is turned off, there should be the minimum time in order to turn on again. And here the priority list methods are so this priority list method is one of the solution technique for the finding the what are the units has to be turned on. So it is a priority list method. This priority list method is calculated or created based upon the full load average production cost, FLAP. So this is the priority list method. So it is one of the solution technique for the unit commitment problem. And another is a dynamic programming approach, DP approach, very well known as a DP approach. So in this we have the forward dynamic programming approach, and also we have the backward dynamic programming approach also. But in your syllabus you have the forward dynamic programming approach. It has the several advantages compared to the all. So one is that reduction in the dimensionality of the problem. That is a major advantage of the dynamic programming approach. Numerical problems on these two methods has to be done. So this is the unit commitment problem. So in this entire unit, what is the statement and constraints, and what are the priority list method solution techniques for UC and forward dynamic programming approach These are the topics. Here, along with that, we have the hydro constants. If you consider the hydrothermal coordination, so if you integrate the hydel power plant with thermal, then hydro constraints has to be considered, and moreover the fuel constraints. So this is regarding the unit commitment. And the last unit is unit 5, computer control of the power systems. Here it is a what is the need of the computer control of power system, we will see here. And concept of the energy control center. So this energy control center is the majorly decision center, so for the interconnected system. What it will do is that the economic operation of the power system, it will look after the economic operation of the power system. So it is nothing but economical load dispatch. So that's why it is called as a load dispatch centers. The major functions of this energy control centers are it is a load forecasting is there, and security monitoring, and power system planning, and unit commitment. So all this will be done by the energy control centers. And one more thing is the SCADA system. So here there are the two cases, supervisory control and data acquisition. So these two are there, supervisory control and data acquisition system. This is supervisory control. It will be the nothing but the energy control center. So it will control the remote equipment. And here the data acquisition, it will gather the information. Data acquisition, gather the information. It is a it will be used to control the remote equipment. So that is a supervisory control and data acquisition system. So these will be discussed here. And EMS, energy management system functions, network topology, and importance of the load forecasting here. Very short, medium, and long. These will be here. Importance of the load forecasting. It is a very much important for establishing the new power plants. So we have to discuss this load forecasting, and simple techniques of forecasting will be discussed. There are the 3 methods are there. Those will be discussed. This is the 5th unit. And here the textbooks are DP Kothari. So almost most of the syllabus were covered in the Kothari, Nagaraj Kothari modern power system analysis. And you can take the black pad modern power system analysis. So there are the several editions over there, but you can refer the black modern power system analysis, and ELGARD, electric energy systems by ELGARD. So you can refer this also. And along with that, we have Chakravarti power system analysis, operation and control. So it is a reference book. And one more, there is a CL Vada, power system analysis by CL Vada is there. But the subject, the book which we can prefer is a Nagaraj and Kothari. For the reference, you can, if you need further information regarding that, you can use the Chakravarti and CL Vada. But I will prefer, actually it is not included here. For the entire power system operation and control, everyone refer the power generation, operation and control by Alan J. Wood. So it is a textbook, standard textbook, Alan J. Wood.